Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. Now, I know what you might be thinking right now. Hex, really? Snake Eye 2 days in a row? And I generally don't like to cover the same deck 2 days in a row. However, the reason I'm doing it is because I managed to top 4 Challenger Cups 2 days in a row. Yesterday's video was my tournament report for the Challenger Cup held on the 13th. This is going to be my top 4 Challenger Cup report for the 14th. It was also 128 people, so 5 rounds. I forgot to save my top 4 match, so unfortunately I don't have those replays, but I do have all 5 Swiss rounds, as well as the top 8 match as well. And the thing that's especially worth noting about the games that we're going to watch for this tournament report is the number of mirror matches I ran into. 4 out of my 5 Swiss rounds I played against Snake Eye. Also in my top 8 match, for 2 of the games, I played against Snake Eye as well, obviously with a Snake Eye deck. And I actually won every single one of those games. That's actually what I'm most proud of myself for, I'm not going to lie, about this particular tournament run, is that every time I faced another Snake Eye deck, I won. Which definitely helped me feel a lot more confident, I guess, in general, about not only the builds, but also my ability to pilot it as well. So that was really cool to see. I'm a little bit disappointed, I have to emphasize, a very, very little bit disappointed that I didn't get second or first. I really, really want one of those plush rescue rabbits, but we do still have a couple more opportunities to win one, and, I mean, you know, it's all about perspective, right? Like, yeah, I would have very, very much liked to have won. I still very, very much would like to win a Rescue Rabbit plushie, but just the fact that, like, we've been hitting top 4 so often with the Challenger Cups here is, you know, it's given me a lot of confidence, and I think moving forward, that will help me lead to, you know, getting more wins and then possibly winning one of these cups here. I'm not going to stay on the build or the deck screen here too long, because I am running the same 40-card main deck and the same 15-card extra deck that we were using in the other Challenger Cup, I was going to say yesterday's. It's yesterday's video. It's the other day for me at the time of recording this, but I don't feel the need to do anything with this build, honestly. Like I said yesterday, I have briefly considered adding 1-for-1 as a 41st card, and I don't think that would be bad. I just like the 40 card count a lot. It's very smooth over the long haul. It's going to give you more consistent hands, and I do think even though the difference is very, 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 very small, it is still worth it. Yeah, I mean, like I said, literally every card in this build, I'm in love with this 40 card main deck, as well as the extra deck too. One question I have gotten a couple of times is about Celine, because I know not everybody owns a Celine. So people have been asking, like, hey, do you need to play Celine? You don't have to play Celine, but Celine is really, really good. It makes access code lines a lot easier to make, and it also sets up the option to make a 2-material Appaloosa potentially on turn 1. That's not a line that I've ever really done, but it's not a bad line. But yeah, I mean, even just for the easier access code, well, access, I think it's very, very much worth it. If you don't own a Celine, I'd probably just go ahead and recommend Nightmare Unicorn, which, to be fair, is pretty close to making the cut in this extra deck anyway. Like, if extra decks were 16 cards instead of 15, I would have a Nightmare Unicorn here, but I just like everything else we're playing a little bit more, so. Alright, yeah, like I said, we're not going to linger too long over here. I'm just going to pop over to replays, and we're going to start watching these games, these mirror matches, really. Like I said, the vast majority of games we are going to see here are going to be, as you can see, mirror matches. So, looks like we are up against another Synchro Snake Eye build. Let's take a look here. This game, I remember in particular, was pretty interesting, because neither of us really got a chance to combo off. Well, you'll see here. Alright, so I do manage to win this coin flip. We're going to be taking the first turn. You know, I've got Wanted, I've got an Ash Ball, so I can't complain too much here. So I will end up using the Wanted in the draw phase for the Diabell. It's pitching the Subversion specifically to summon out the Diabell. And the reason I pitched Subversion specifically is so I could get an extra draw here with the Wanted on this turn, right? So I'm going to do that right now, actually. I'm going to Wanted the Subversion back, try to draw some more gas. I mean, it's another Diabell, so it's not gas I can use this turn, but gonna OSS away the Diabell for Snake Eye Ash. Opponent does have an Ash, or an Imperm rather, so they are going to be able to stop my plays here. And yeah, I don't have any other follow-up in this kind of a hand, so I'm just gonna end up having to make the Link Rebo off the Snake Eye Ash, set the wanted as possible bluff, and then just pass it back over to our opponent, who is going to standby phase wanted. Should technically be draw to play around Jewel if you're not going to do it during the main, but looks like they're going to lead with the Diabell as well. Diabell is going to set the original Sin for them too. When they flip that up, you might expect me to use Ash Blossom here, but I didn't. I don't think it's correct to... I see a lot of people Ash Blossoming the original Sin. That's occasionally correct, but I see a ton of people Ash Blossoming the first effect of Snake Eye Ash. I don't think that's worth it pretty much ever. I would literally always wait until the second effect of Snake Eye Ash. Especially because, especially using Ash Blossom on original Sin as your opponent's first play is really risky. See, now I'm using the Ash Blossom when they go to try to summon from the deck. Because it'll make it so that if they just, it's really easy for them to, like, Diabell for original Sin away the Diabell, you Ash it, and they're just like, okay, normal Poplar, or like normal summon a Snake Eye Ash, right? It's so easy for that to happen that I would definitely wait, especially if Ash Blossom is all you have, like me here, I would absolutely wait until Snake Eye Ash's second effect, and not the first one, the second one. Okay, so, we got the Diabells. We also have original Sin in the yard, so I can just straight up add the Snake Eye Ash that way. Looking at our opponent's hand, obviously I couldn't do this during the actual game, but looking at it now, I do see this in Nibiru here, which will be interesting to have to deal with. Yeah, so here they get to use the Divine Temple to bring out the Flamberge, and then Flamberge to bring out Poplar, but they only have the one level 5 fire in the yard, so I'm not really concerned about Flamberge here. Plus, because I've already used OSS's second effect, I can just Diabell for the original Sin here, right? In fact, I'm going to do that right now. Before I use the Temple even. I'm going to Diabell. Yep, there's Subversion. Subversion, I'm just going to push back the Flamberge again. They're going to respond with the Poplar summon. That's completely fine. And yeah, and then they just conceded. That was wild to me. That was insanity, actually. I don't know, that might be a bit harsh, but like, I don't know why if you're holding Nib, you would concede in this position. I didn't even know my opponent had Nib during the actual tournament, again, of course. And even then, I thought that was a really early concede. I think that the game, while unlikely, was still somewhat... There's a chance my opponent could have come back. Really, what my opponent did was they didn't afford me the chance to misplay. You always got, especially in a tournament setting, like, you always gotta give your opponent the chance to misplay. You never know if they're gonna do it. You never know what play they're gonna make. And I can see a lot of situations, well, maybe not a lot. I can see some situations where I might have played into this nib. I might have had a time coming back here, but yeah, again, especially round one of a tournament, I don't know. I talked about this yesterday, like, with people dropping in, like, after they get their first loss, and I took my first loss in yesterday's tournament, or Saturday's tournament, rather, in round 3, and was still be able to make top cut, so, I don't know, it's just like, if you're going to play in the tournament, play to win, But anyway, it looks like our next opponent here is on the, well, it's a Casteria variant, but I saw Synchros as well in there, so... Okay, let's see how we do for our opening hand. I think we lose this coin flip, if I remember right. We do, yep, okay. So, opening hand is going to have Valor, not much else. Oh my, I didn't realize how good, look at how good their hand is, oh my god. They're going to leave the Snake Eye Ash, yep, I'm just going to definitely Valor in response here. And this will proc the triple attack. I think they end up drawing two. In fact, I'm very sure they do, yeah. Because I remember thinking, oh, they can hand rip me and take literally anything here. It's fine. Oh, I remember what happened here. Yeah, so they activate the Birth and try to use Snake Eye Ash's effect, but alas, it is negated. Gotta watch out for that. Just because you can activate the effect doesn't mean it will resolve, right? I guess for them here, the Birth wouldn't have made the difference anyway, but... I'm going to want to draw phase. Opponent's going to chain the Maxi. I have a called by, so we're looking pretty good there. It's going to deal with that. Yeah, I think if I was my opponent, I understand why they drew two. I think I probably still would have hand ripped in that situation. Like, getting a hand rip in when you have C and Ash Blossom in hand is like, it's going to be so hard for your opponent to be able to play in that kind of a situation. But, yeah, so here I'm going to pitch the Jet Synchron for the Diabell, right? And I'm actually going to go into Hita. This looks a little weird, but the reason I'm doing this is because my opponent has a Snake Eye Ash in the yard. So now, and I still have OSS set, so now I can go into my combo line using their Ashe, and more importantly, not having to use my OSS in case they have another disrupt, which in this case they do, another Ashe Blossom and Joyous Spring, right? So I get a Poplar for the Link Rebo, then I'm going to use their Snake Eye Ashe's effect. They have the Ashe Blossom in response. Good timing on that for my opponent, like I was just saying in that last game. I do think that the first, typically, of course, Snake Eye Ashe send effect that gets activated is going to be what you want to do there. Here I decided to go into the Promethean Princess, because that will actually allow me to get back the Oak, which hasn't used its effect yet. I can Oak to pull Jet Synchron from the Banish pile. Now I can send Oak with the Flamberge in the Spell Trap to pull out my Flamberge from the deck. And then that'll proc the Flamberge that just got sent, of course. And, yeah, here I'm just going to go to Battle Phase and not bother summoning much of anything else. I'm like, I didn't think they had Nib. I feel like they would have already done it. And I have enough damage on board, so I'm just going to take the lethal while it's there, you know? Yeah, so my opponent's Ashe misplay there didn't end up costing them the game or anything, but again, that is something that's very important to know, that just because a card is glowing yellow, it means you can activate the effect, yes, but just because you can activate the effect does not mean it will actually end up resolving, right? So, okay, yep, another Synchro build here. 3 Droll is actually something I have considered before, definitely not too bad. Throw on double Nibiru as well. Another build on the Silvera. There have been times where I've been a little tempted to play the Silvera, but I think ultimately I'm not the biggest fan of this card. Just because, like, in order to, like, be in a situation where you actively set this with Diabell, you either have to have already been hand-trapped and know you don't have plays, or, already have plays in hand. I don't see many situations where, like, I actively want to be like, yes, I would like to set Silvera with Diabell's effect, you know? But I don't think it's a bad card by any means. That's a lot of the, a lot of the cards I don't play. It's not that I think they're bad. I just think that we have so much going on that we could be playing, right? So many good cards to play. So little time. Looks like we did manage to win the coin flip here, so I'm going to lead with the Snake Eye Ashe to add Z Poplar. Poplar effect is going to activate, of course. The opponent will max C here. We do have the cross out, though, so we're absolutely going to fire that off and take care of the bug there. I don't like opening the second Poplar. I don't know, there have been times, speaking of being tempted to play certain cards, this sounds really weird. I've legit been tempted to play third Poplar so often, just because there are a good number of hands where you open one of the 2 Poplars, and that makes your long game a little bit more awkward, especially if you don't also open Original Sin. But also at the same time, it's such a corner case, right? Like, in order for the third Poplar to be good, you would need to be, as I just said, in a long game where you opened one of the Poplars and didn't open Original Sin, which is like, so how often is that going to happen, right? Alright, so Oak, Poplar, or Oak bringing back the Poplar. I don't know if I've actually talked about setting up the Oak with the Divine Temple, right? The reason I did it the way that I've actually been doing it this way for a minute now, but the reason that I set up the Oak instead of the Flamberge, because you're thinking, well, don't you want Flamberge in there for nib protection? But if you normal Ashe, get the Poplar, Poplar for Temple, and then Temple the Oak, you can activate Ashe's effect, send it an Oak, pull out the Flamberge directly like I did, and then doing it that way not only chain blocks your Flamberge effect with Poplar's effect in case they have like Ghost Spell or Gamma or something, but you still set up the Flamberge and the Spell Trap with Poplar's effect before you hit 5 summons. So it plays around Nib, and it also plays around Ghost Spell better to do it that way, as well as like other corner case stuff, right? Alright, so here comes the Diabell. Diabell is going to end up setting the Sinful Spoils of Subversion. Normal summoning the Snake Eye Ashe, I'm absolutely going to effect Valor that, no questions asked there. Okay, OSS is going to sack off the Ashe. I was really waiting for that Subversion to get flipped. I thought it was going to happen right away, but instead they do it here. Oh my god, oh my god. This might have been my favorite play I did of the whole tournament. So here, I get to summon the Underworld Goddess. And not only do we summon Underworld Goddess and also proc our own Flamberge, But remember that Underworld Goddess will negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. My opponent has Ash and Oak. Neither have activated their send effects, and I just negated both of them. Underworld Goddess, don't sleep on this card. This card is so good in the extra deck. In fact, I don't play Nightmare Unicorn because I'm playing Underworld Goddess instead, and I won't lie to you, I think Underworld Goddess is 100% better than Nightmare Unicorn in this deck. It has so many applications. Oh, yeah, here they end up summoning Hita in the main monster zone that my Goddess was pointing to, but Hita only summons to zones that she points to. But even if my opponent had summoned Hita to the EMZ, I would just pop it with Promethean Princess anyway, so it really wouldn't have mattered in the long run. But, yeah, Underworld Goddess, like, this card, I just think is strictly better than Nightmare Unicorn. I came to this conclusion in Sprite too, but especially in Snake Eye in this meta, not only is also with Pearly running around a little bit more often, you get to eat the big Nors, you get to negate your opponent's boards, which if you time it well, like we did here, you can get some very, very good disruption there. Also, the last effect, to negate an effect that summons a monster from the graveyard, that can hit Flamberge and Oak, very, very relevant, and Promethean Princess, all extremely relevant in the mirror match. So, again, if you don't own an Underworld Goddess, I guess you could play Nightmare Unicorn instead, but this card is clutch. Do not sleep on it. I think it is, I would say it's a staple for the Snake Eye extra deck, frankly. Okay, so here is our only non-Snake Eye opponent of the Swiss rounds, and that is going to be Fredella, who was on Manadium, as you can see here. Fredella is, as you can see, Fredella-YT, does also post and I believe stream runs, the Challenger Cup runs on YouTube, so go check him out. We're going to be going second here. And yeah, this was just rough overall for me. Went second, didn't open any disruption at all. And opponent's going to have a couple of hand traps that we're going to have to play through as well, in addition to the board that they end up setting here. So that's going to be pretty brutal. Not impossible, but pretty brutal, I won't lie. Yeah, I mean, you know, even with the build ratioed out the way we do to be about 50% disruption, 50% engine, you're still just going to end up with hands like this sometimes, you know? It's just RNG. It's part of card games. It's something that happens. But if you play and deck build well, you absolutely minimize how often RNG actually affects you. And RNG is probably the determinant of your games less often than most people think, to be frank. Yeah, again, I talked about this yesterday, but I genuinely scoff at the notion of any format ever being a coin flip format. It's simply untrue. It is untrue. Yeah, I don't know what else to say beyond that. It's not true. Coin flip formats don't exist. I'm gonna be this might sound a little bit mean, but it's a skill issue. If you think the format is determined solely by coin flips, I'm telling you, it's just a skill issue. Subversion was definitely not a bad draw here. If nothing else, I can force out the Baron de Fleur. They do have the Maxi here. I'm just gonna have to play through it. Like I said, I don't have a way to stop it. And ironically, the Nib. I was about to say I'm gonna have to hope they don't have Nib. It's literally already right there, but. Alright, yeah, Subversion, like I said before, getting negated by the Baron. We expected this. We can get a free draw off the Wanted, which is a triple tag. An extremely good draw here, by the way. It forces out, well, it's going to end up forcing out the reframing. I was really hoping to be able to take the Baron. Like, my original plan, if I hadn't gotten reframing there, was actually to take the Baron, battle over the Dissipator, pop the Lambda, then send the Baron for Diabel, give them one draw, and then pass back to them. And that actually would have been a situation where Silvera would have been good, but... I don't know, it's like, Silvera to me is the opposite of a win more card, where like, Silvera is only good if you're behind, but not only do I not think it always catches you up, but again, you have to know that you're going to be behind when you do a Diabel search, which is, again, just not a very common circumstance to find yourself in my experience. Alright, here I'm going to make Dark. Just trying to go into the access code really more than anything else here. And here's the Nib, yep. There is the Nib. But we do still have the Divine Temple up, and we do have that Flamberge in our spell trap zone. So I'm just going to go ahead and yank that on out, throwing that right there. Flamberge F will activate, pushing back their nib. I'm then going to link off the token with the Flamberge to go for IP Masquerena, because they don't have any fire speed to take with heat, otherwise I would try that. Bringing it back the Ash and the Poplar. I'm going to activate Sega Ash's effect, and then we get hit with Ash Blossom. We were, like, kind of close, actually, to being able to come back here. Wait, do they actually have a fire monster in the yard? Oh, because they have Ash Blossom now. Yeah, but, like... Yeah, Hita into Ash Blossom now doesn't do anything. It was close. This was a lot closer than it might look to me actually being able to come back here. I mean, as you can see, I'm going to end up reducing them to 2300. If I had like, one more material monster, instead of going the Princess line, I could have, you know, gone for the Access Code line. But, yeah, it's just like... As soon as I had to make Ambler Whale here, I'm like, yeah, I just lose. The main reason I didn't concede... Another reason to not concede during tournaments, by the way, is I'm like... Maybe my opponent will disconnect. You know? It has happened in tournaments. Not I haven't disconnected, but I've had opponents who have disconnected in tournaments before. It was actually Roarclose, which I was very, very sad about, because Roarclose is a fantastic duelist, and I love any opportunity to play against her. So when she disconnected against me during a tournament match, I was like, no, that sucks. But yeah, I mean, again, it could happen. So speaking of being close to not dying here, by the way, this Linkuriboh actually, like, almost got me there. I mean, and by got me there, I mean, you know, I didn't die, but, yeah, if my Linkuriboh could have blanked, I think any of the upcoming attacks, too, we could have lived through to the next turn. It's just like, argh. It was so close, you know. No, yeah, here, they just have the Chaos Angel to banish the Linkuriboh. Okay, Arrival, getting the Visas. Oh, the other thing, too, I remember another reason I didn't concede yet. While I didn't think my opponent would time out, at this point in the round, we had like 3 minutes left, and I'm like, maybe he'll overcook and do the combo line too long, and then not get to the battle phase before time is called, and then I'll win. You know, it's like I said before, there's no real reason to concede pretty much ever during a tournament match. Let it play out. Just give your opponent the opportunity to misplay or disconnect. You never know, it could happen. But Fratello did not do either of those things. Again, GG's. Very good play there. Okay, our last Swiss round is going to be against Rixia, which is going to be yet another mirror match here. Casteria variant here, no synchros, which is pretty interesting. I think this is actually the exact same extra deck I played in my Alt-Link build when I tried that out. Okay. And if you're wondering, because I think I got a comment about this too, if you're wondering about Heat Soul with no, what's it called, Sunlight Wolf, you do it with IP plus Linkuriboh is how you go into Heat Soul. So, okay, let's check out our final round of Swiss here. And then after that, we have the top 8 match. Again, I just forgot to save my top 4 games. Alright, we're going second for this one. Oh, love to see a hand like this going second. We do need to draw gas, though. We do notably need to draw some amount of gas here. I'm going to Valor. I like using Valor before the Imperms in a situation like this for 2 reasons. One, I can only Valor on my opponent's turn, whereas Imperm I can set on my turn and will be good, right? So, also, if they have a call by, we can still follow up with an Imperm and negate it anyway. I'm going to Ash Blossom their Bonfire, because I know that's trying to search a Poplar, which would allow them to continue their plays if they search that, so. Drawing Segai Ash off the top of the deck, because I'm just the best player in the world. But to be fair, you know, if you think about it, we had a lot of cards we could have top-decked. We could have top-decked any of our 3 Ash, our 3 Bonfire, our 3 Diabel, our 3 Wanted, our 2 Poplar. Any of those would have gotten us into plays. Original Sin also would have done it as well. I think Original Sin would have done it. Oh, actually, wouldn't have if we had used those hand traps, actually. I said actually twice, but... speaking of hand traps, we are going to get hand trapped by the Ash Blossom here, and unfortunately not able to really play after that. But we, if nothing else, we do end up getting to put the Oak back in our spell trap zone and set the double Imperm. So now if they start to make plays on their turn, I can not only negate it, but also Oak Oak will bring back Ash, and then I can, you know, search a Poplar and do a line, like a combo line on their turn. Looks like they topped up the Maxi, so no plays for them. I'm going to start off with Diabell here, along with the Flamberge F. Opponent's gonna Maxi, so my plan here is to just get as many bodies as I need in as few summons as possible, right? Just to make sure I have lethal, which with the Divine Temple will not actually be that difficult here. So that's one summon. Even though these are summoned at the same time, that counts as 2 summons. And actually, you see the opponent does have a Nib in the hand, right? Searching the Jet Ski Grunt, I'm going to normal that. That's 3. And then, yeah, just moving to battle phase. Again, I've got the damage on board, and my opponent can't nib me, so I'm just going to go for it. There's no reason to start doing fancy plays here to try to play around stuff. And there you have it. There is our Swiss rounds. So we end up going 4-1. And yeah, you know, because I see people saying like, oh, if you lose any round but the last one, you should just drop because you'll be out. But again, here I lost round 4, still made top cut, and yesterday, or rather Saturday, lost 3rd round, still made top cut. So really what it comes down to is your tiebreakers, right? Like if the person who beat you goes undefeated, which happened both Sunday and Saturday for the 2 Challenger Cups, then you're pretty much guaranteed in. So it's like, stay in the tournament if you're X1. Why not? Your opponent might win out. And worst case scenario, even if you don't top, you still got some practice in for future tournaments, right? So, all right, there is our top, or our Swiss. So let's take a look at our top 8 match. The top 4 match, I'll actually talk about that very briefly because, again, I forgot to save the games. But I end up losing to the Rescue Ace player who won the tournament. Game 1 was actually the closest Challenger Cup match I've had so far, which is why I'm really sad I didn't save it. It was an 11-turn game that ended with me specialing Diabell, it getting negated. Then I normaled Ash Blossom to make Baron de Fleur to seal out the game. It was kind of wild, but game 2, I lost pretty quickly. Game 3 was so brutal. I was going first, so I was really confident that I was going to win the match. But going first, I opened Oak, both Poplars, and Bonfire, which is actually just the worst, like, all-gas hand you can have. Because even if I normal summon Snake Eye Ash, I don't have a Poplar to add to then special. So I literally Snake Eye Ash did nothing. I had to lead by normal summoning Poplar and going for an awful line where I had to special the Oak from my hand. It was gross. It was bad. It's like, again, it'll happen sometimes. Sometimes you just don't get great hands. But let's watch our top 8 match against Foster Cubed. Foster Cubed is somebody I've played against quite a bit in not only Challenger Cups, but also in the MCS in the past. Foster Cubed is an excellent duelist who brought Snake Eye for our game 1. For those who might not know or might not remember, you are actually allowed to freely change your deck as much as you want between, not only between Swiss rounds, but also in best of 3 between games, right? So, yeah, so I win the coin flip here in this good old Snake Eye mirror. Gonna lead with the normal summon Poplar. Poplar, you know, opening it isn't ideal, but it is still a combo line, so there is that to be grateful for. We're gonna link off the Poplar for the Link Karibo, putting it in the Spell Trap Zone, activating the original Send to send off the Poplar. Foster does have an Ash Blossom, but thankfully we opened the Called By here, so we're just gonna go ahead and snap that off against the Ash Blossom and negate that. Alright, from here, this is actually another line where we're gonna have to summon the Oak from hand, now that I think about it. I hate opening Oak, I really do. Like, opening Oak, it doesn't mean that your plays are dead necessarily, but it means your plays are gonna be a little bit awkward. Yeah, just summoning it straight from hand here. I just want to get all my names into rotation, really, more than anything else. The other thing that sucks about doing the line where you open Poplar and nothing else is that you don't get to set up the field spell. Which, I always feel a lot more safe when I have the field spell set up. Not even just for, like, summoning my own stuff, like my own Flamberge out of the spell trap, but if you're in a mirror match, you can use your field spell as disruption. And we're actually going to see an example of that later. Oh, there's a Chain Link in Game 3 that I'm really excited to talk about, but... Yep, gonna put that in the spell trap, the Masquerena, and Princess and Oak are becoming the Amber Whale, of course. And there we have it. Again, not an exciting turn 1 end board, but it is an end board, so can't complain too much about that. Alright, gonna pull out the IP with the Flamberge here, and I'm also gonna just shotgun the Maxi, because why not? It's like, might as well. In case they have like a Kashira or a DML or something, right? Which normally on ladder, I don't, and even during Swiss, I don't really hedge and play around that, but in Top Cut, I just thought it was much more likely to run into a mirror match. So it looks like Foster played pretty minimally under the Maxi, decided not to go for it and take the challenge there. But unfortunately for them, pushing the Flamberge back is not going to be enough to stop me from making plays so that I get to DML send away the Flamberge and then activate both effects. I'll set the Subversion with the DML Star and then summon out Oak and Snake Eye Ash. And at this point, I'm kind of just waiting for Foster to summon his Flamberge out of the Spell Trap Zone so that I can push it back with Subversion and then go in for lethal. But if Foster, if he doesn't want to summon it, that's also cool with me. I think he does at some point here. So Poplar's going to add the Field Spell. Field Spell will set that up and put our Flamberge down. Oh, that's right. We're just going to move to Battle Phase here because Foster never summoned the Flamberge. So I'm like, okay, I can just battle here. Like, again, this is a recurring theme we're seeing in my games, right? Where if I have the line to lethal and I'm confident my opponent doesn't have any more disruption, I'm just going to go for it, right? Because, like, you gotta just think about the drawbacks of making a play a lot of the time, right? Like, if I have lethal damage on board, even through the attack mode Snake Eye Ash, and, you know, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, if I go to end of main, like, yeah, I could get nibbed, but I'd get nibbed either way, right? Like, whether I continue my plays or not. And really, there's not anything during the battle phase, realistically, that could come up and stop me from lethaling. So, yeah, again, it's just, like, going for it, you know? I think some people are just, like, either by habit or just for another reason, just not being experienced enough, would like try to climb into like an access code or something. But if you have damage, again, if you have the lethal on board, I'd just say just go for it. Okay, so that was game one. For game two, Foster switched it up on me and brought Manadium. I actually thought Foster Cube was going to be playing Manadium for game one as well, because I know last time I played him, he was on that deck. But as you can see here, I swapped over to going second to Kashira. But I will say, ever since the Unicorn Semi-Limit, I'm thinking about just making a different going second deck. I don't know what yet. I still gotta figure that out. But we opened Shifter unevenly, so definitely not too bad there. I'm gonna throw out the Shifter as soon as the first Vysis monster here, Samsara, gets summoned. That way, especially Samsara, because it does count as Vysis in the graveyard, I don't want to set up future Astrolaud material, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead and nip it in the bud and take care of that right now. So they're leading with the Samsara into a bit of a Scareclaw line here. They have the Vysis as well, going into Baron de Fleur. And setting Imperm before passing. Yeah, it seemed like a pretty minimal Manadium line, but the level of disruption that Foster has here might actually be enough. So I'm going to lead with the evenly. The way I see it, I either eat the Baron negate or the back row, and I'm fine either way, so I'm going to lead with Unicorn here. It does predictably get negated by the Baron de Fleur, but that's okay because we do still have the Ogre. And then we're going to use the Pathfinder as well. I wanted a Pathfinder for Riceheart, but Foster's got an Ash Blossom for that, so what this will do, though, however, it does proc my Kashira Ogre, so I'm like, okay, Rimheart, Meek, then Calarium, then Talent, then Reichphobia. I end up banishing the Rimheart off the top because remember that Ogre puts the cards back in the same order. So for me, in this situation, I'm like, okay, Foster's top card is Manadium Meek in deck, right? I know Foster has a Scareclaw rival in hand, but with nothing in graveyard, there's nothing he can do with it. So I'm like, unless his last card is Gas, I just win by big-eyeing the Baron here. Unfortunately for me, the last card was Reichheart, which is absolutely gas and absolutely more than enough to pop off with plays here. So I came very close, though. It was very, very close. It literally came down to Foster's last card that was the only unknown factor there. But yeah, Kashira Ogre. Very, very good card, honestly. What did I say? Oh, I just swapped in the Birth. That's right. If I do decide to keep using Kashira as my going second deck, I might just put in a second Ogre to kind of help have more bodies since Unicorn got semi-limit. Of course, Ogre doesn't start up plays the same way that Unicorn does, but in the going second build, that kind of matters a little bit less anyway. But I don't even know, again, I don't even know if Cashier is going to be my going second deck moving forward. The main reason I use it is so I can play D-Shifter going second, right? But, maybe there's a different deck I can find, or maybe there's just something else, I don't know. Yeah, so we did not end up winning that game. However, we are going to go into game 3 here. And Foster swapped back into Snake Eye for this one. On Max Valor, Max Droll, Max Imper, Max Triple Attack. Makes sense, because, of course, he knows he's going second, right? Alright, if I remember right, I kind of... Well, let's just see how the game plays out. I know there's a chain link in here that I'm pretty eager to talk about. At least I'm very sure there is. Oh yeah, so like I said, we're taking the first turn here. My going first build is mostly the same, but it takes out a lot of, like, the Valors and Imperms, leaving one of each for crossout still. And as you can see here, yeah, I'm rocking a playset of summon limits there. In addition to, I do play 1-for-1 here as an additional starter, right? Oh, I opened 1-for-1 even, I played it, so... Yeah, I don't play 1-for-1 on my usual builds, but if I know I'm going first, I definitely want another card that's going to help me get plays there. Alright, so after call buying their Valor, I'm going to use the Poplar here to grab the Divine Temple. Divine Temple for Oak. Again, this is the line that I usually do, right? If I have Ash and nothing else. Setting up the Oak, sending the Ash for the Oak for the Flamberge, then linking those into IP. The main thing about this version of the line is that you wait a little bit before you go into Link Rebo here. And yeah, as you can see, you can do Flamberge, Chainlink 1, Poplar, Chainlink 2, so even if your opponent is on Ghost Spell, you still chain block around it. And then as you can see, again, this sets up Flamberge in your spell trap zone by the time you've hit 5 summons. So yeah, now we make Link Rebo later into the combo line. You do have to make it later because you can't make IP Masquerena with Link Rebo, because IP Masquerena takes non-Link monsters as materials. So then we're going to sack off Oak and Ash to pull out the second Flamberge from deck. That is actually another nice thing about doing the line this way, is that you pull out both Flamberges. I mean, I guess you usually do that anyway, but the nice thing about getting both Flamberges out of the deck is that you don't have to worry about, like, top decking one or something, right? Okay, so yep, we got the Whale, got the Flamberge in each of the main and Spell Trap. Draw phase is going to pull out the IP. I still like doing a draw phase just to play around the triple attack more. And once again, I'm just going to shotgun the Maxi here. Okay, Foster's going to lead with Snake Eye Ash for the Poplar, of course. Poplar is going to summon itself, and then activating the effect to grab the Divine Temple. Divine Temple being placed here for the Flamberge. Note that Foster has Droll in hand, but waited to place the Divine Temple, which I think was actually very smart. So you're seeing my opponent summoning, you're seeing Foster here summon a lot of monsters, right? And you'll notice I haven't used my Divine Temple yet. There's a very specific reason for that. If you're in a mirror match, this is actually very, very important. And I'll always talk about it when the actual chain link comes up, but okay, here it is. So, normally, again, I don't like to pause. I like to deal with these games more quickly, but I gotta stop and explain how this chain link is playing out. So, the reason I haven't used my Divine Temple yet is that I'm waiting for Foster Cubed to activate his Divine Temple. So, the way that multiple optional spell speed 1 effects go on a chain link is that whoever the turn player is has their effects activate first. So, if Foster and I both summon a monster on the same chain link, that means on the next chain link, both of our Divine Temples are going to proc. Because a monster was summoned to my field, his Divine Temple will proc, and because a monster was summoned to his field, my Divine Temple will proc. Again, turn player, their chain link goes first, meaning Divine Temple will be at a chain link before my Divine Temple. And since chains resolve backwards, that means that my Divine Temple will actually resolve first. So I'm saving my Divine Temple activation for Foster using his, and I'm just going to target whatever monster he does. That way I get the monster and he doesn't. But that's actually not even fully what's going to happen in this chain link here. Oh, no, sorry, that is fully what happens in this chain link. It's the next chain link that's going to be the interesting one. So you'll note I'm also making the Underworld Goddess here. Very, very important, I think, to do so in this situation. So, Chainlink 1 fosters Flambridge. Chainlink 2 fosters Oak. Chain Link 3, Foster's Divine Temple. That's all of Foster's Spell Speed 1 optional effects. Again, turn player is going to put theirs on the Chain Link first. Now, I get to put mine on, so here's my Divine Temple to summon out the same Flamberge that he's targeting, my Flamberge Jeff, and then I also get to Goddess, which will negate the Oak. Here, Foster is going to draw, now that he's gotten his Temple, and now doesn't want me to draw any more cards, which I'm totally cool with. Alright, so I get to summon out my Oak and Ash. Here's me summoning my Flamberge, right? And because Foster targeted the same Flamberge, now it won't get summoned. My Goddess negates the Oak. Not only the summon effect, but also this will stop the send 2 to summon 1 effect, which Ash has already used. And yeah, now when Promethean Princess, or when Hita comes out, I'm just gonna pop it with Promethean Princess. And that'll also proc Amble Whale to pop Foster's last monster, the last Snake Eye Ash here. In addition to me using Poplar to wheel another Flamberge back into my spell trap zone. Yeah, this was like that was the big moment I wanted to talk about. Because, holy cow, this is like the epitome of why I love playing mirror matches. I've seen people say like, oh, Snake Eye isn't as fun of a tier 0 deck as tier limit, the mirror match isn't as good. Like, I've seen people say too, like, oh, the mirror match is just checking who has more hand traps. Like, could not be further from the truth. Could not be further. That is what I like to call level 1 thinking. The level 2 thinking is, well, doing chain links like the one I did here. Knowing when your opponent's effects are going to activate and how you can activate your own effects simultaneously to counter their upcoming effects. So, that was probably the most, like, tournament-feeling game I've played in the Challenge Cup yet. GG's Foster Cubed. Again, GG's. Foster Cubed, phenomenal duelist. Usually beats me, honestly. So I was a little surprised, but quite pleased to take away a W in the top 8 match there. So, and again, as if I hadn't said this enough times already, unfortunately I forgot to save my top 4 match, which I didn't. Also, unfortunately, end up losing there. But shoutouts to Nod3Q, who I believe is the name of the Rescue Ace player who not only beat me in top 4, but also then went on to win out the whole tournament there. So, alright, that's going to ultimately end up doing it for the games and for this tournament report here. So, just want to always ever thank everyone who's watching and who chats on the Discord server, just everyone in general for your support. It means a lot. It genuinely makes my day when I post one of these tournament reports and I see the comments that are like, "Woo, go Hex!" Like, just cheering me on. It's like that genuinely does make my day. Thank you very much. Yeah, also, as always, never got to give a huge shout out to Das Springen's Booty, which is the server that Foxy Laloon started, and she has been phenomenal in helping me. I need to get her on the channel very soon, actually, to like talk about our Challenger Cup experiences or Snake Eye or stuff in general. But yeah, huge shout out to Foxy and everybody else there for helping me test and theory craft and just chat, right? Can't overstate enough how much of a help it's been. Thank you all. Yeah, no, that's gonna do it though, I think, for this video. So let's just move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for support there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.